This is the ZimaBlade. It's a single board computer or SBC, like the Raspberry Pi or the BeagleBone Black. However, unlike those others that are powered by an ARM CPU, the ZimaBlade actually uses an Intel Celeron CPU. Why is that an advantage? Stick around and find out. I must confess I love single board computers. They are typically very small, inexpensive, and provide a surprising amount of power for their diminutive size. And there are so many things you can use them for. This is my old Synology DS216se NAS. The enclosure is designed to hold two 3.5-inch hard drives, but I only have one installed. A NAS like this is designed as more of an appliance than a piece of tech equipment. It's just so easy to use. But this model has one significant flaw. It is slow. It has this wonderful, intuitive web interface, but every time you make a selection, you have to wait and wait for the tiny little CPU to catch up. So here's my plan. I want to take this little ZimaBlade and use it to create a new NAS to replace this tired old Synology NAS. Okay, here is the ZimaBlade 7700, and this is the quad-core model. The 3760 is the dual-core model. Let's take a look and see what we have inside. Okay, a little welcome card, a little user's manual, and here is the ZimaBlade. We'll come back to that and see what else is in the box. Okay, a couple little stickers. Got a bendy USB-C cable, and we have got the little SATA cable here. So this is the SATA connector there, and then that is the power connector that's on the ZimaBlade, which then will allow me to plug that onto a standard SATA drive. Now there are versions of this cable that have a single power connector and two outputs, so you can actually have two drives running off the ZimaBlade. This will probably be fine for me because I will probably only have one drive running on it for now, and then I may look at adding another drive later on, at which time I will buy the other cable. But that is great. Let's have a look at the blade itself. Okay, so we've got our little PCI slot there. We've got our two SATA connectors there. That's the little power connector I was referring to. We've got a mini display port. We've got Ethernet, USB-A, and then USB-C. Here are a few things that are quite unique about the ZimaBlade. Unlike something like a Raspberry Pi that comes with no built-in storage, this actually has 32 gigabytes of eMMC storage. It's not particularly big or fast, but it's more than enough to install an operating system. Another great feature is the RAM upgradability. It has a single DDR3L SODIMM slot, allowing the installation of up to 16 gigabytes of RAM. And then there are the storage options. The ZimaBlade has two SATA ports, making it easy to connect high-capacity hard drives. But the ZimaBlade's real party trick is this: a PCIe 2 slot, giving you access to a whole range of expansion options like a GPU, NVMe storage, or a network interface card. The only real limitation of the PCIe slot is power. If you want to run a high-power PCIe card, you'll need to use something like a powered PCIe riser. The ZimaBlade came with Casa OS pre-installed. Casa OS is a lightweight, web-based platform that makes it easy to deploy Docker applications and self-hosted services. It's a great option for home servers, but for this project, I wanted something more focused on storage and data management. So I'll be replacing it with TrueNAS Scale, which provides a dedicated NAS operating system complete with a web-based management interface for monitoring performance, storage capacity, and drive health. But before I go and do something practical with the ZimaBlade, let's do something a bit silly. I want to try out the PCIe slot, and I have this old NVIDIA GeForce GT 710. It has very low power demand, so I think I'll be able to use it with the ZimaBlade. So what will I do to showcase the raw power of this old GPU? How about a game of Unreal Tournament 2004? Check out this janky looking setup with the PCIe card hanging out the side of the ZimaBlade. I've installed Ubuntu 22.04, the NVIDIA drivers for this card, and of course Unreal Tournament 2004. There wasn't enough room to install UT on the built-in storage, so I connected up an old 1TB SATA drive and installed on that. With all of the quality settings ramped up to maximum, we're getting between 100 and 200 frames per second, depending on what's being rendered. I really suck at this game. The performance isn't mind-bending, but it is marginally better than the built-in Intel 500 GPU of the ZimaBlade. Same with this GPU benchmarking test, which resulted in a score of 94 for the built-in GPU and 156 for the GT710, so it's 62 better. So with that silliness out of the way, it's time to remove the NVIDIA GPU and start focusing on the primary goal of turning this into a NAS. And I want the finished unit to look slick, like a commercial product. So I'll be designing and 3D printing a custom case to hold the ZimaBlade, one 3.5-inch hard drive, and a small fan for keeping everything cool. I'll be setting it up with 8TB of storage. I know that's not a lot by today's standards, but this will be used primarily for backups of a web server, so the files aren't too big. Not to mention that hard drive prices are getting a bit silly at the moment, so 8TB is all I could afford. The old NAS only had 4TB, so for me, it's a significant upgrade. I've purchased a Seagate Ironwolf drive, which is specifically designed for NAS use. These drives are built to handle the demands of continuous 24/7 operation. I started the case design by creating placekeeper shapes for the hard drive and the ZimaBlade, and then building the enclosure around them. The ZimaBlade's metal case actually works as a heatsink, with the Celeron CPU attached to the chassis with thermal adhesive. So I'm designing the enclosure with the hot part of the ZimaBlade case and the underside of the hard drive facing inwards, and an air channel running between them. There will be a fan at the front pulling air in, through the channel, and out the back of the case. I'm pretty confident this will give me all of the cooling I need, but I'll test that once it's complete. The final design has 3 parts: the case, the lid, and the fan cover. I wasn't able to get the fan cover to print well without using supports, so I've printed that separately to glue in place. I had to design these little holes in the side of the case in order to get a screwdriver in there to access 2 of the mounting holes for the fan. But I printed these little plugs to cover the holes afterwards and stop any of the airflow escaping out the side. There are holes in the bottom for securing the hard drive in place. This isn't really necessary because it's held in pretty securely with friction, but I decided to use screws just to be safe. The ZimaBlade is held in place with friction alone, but it's a very snug fit, so it's not going anywhere. I bought these rubber feet for the base, which helps to give the whole thing a more professional appearance. I also created these openings on the side. They are partly for cooling and partly to save a bit of filament. I've made a hole in the back for the ZimaBlade's I/O ports, and I have the PCIe slot protruding from the top of the case. This means that even when fully assembled, I'll be able to plug in a PCIe card if I choose to have another impromptu game of Unreal Tournament, or if I want to upgrade to a faster Ethernet adapter in the future. Time to see if my cooling design actually works. I bought this little slimline 40mm 12V DC fan, which gives me 0.6 cubic meters or 5.4 cubic feet per minute air movement. I'm stealing 12 volts from inside the ZimaBlade. This way, the fan only comes on when the ZimaBlade is on. I'm monitoring the ZimaBlade CPU temperature, and for my first test, the fan won't be running. Starting from idle, the CPU temperature stabilizes around 44 degrees Celsius. Now I'm going to use the stress utility to load all 4 CPU cores and see what happens. The temperature quickly climbs and then stabilizes around 83 degrees Celsius, at which point I decide it's had enough punishment and connect the fan. The temperature immediately starts dropping and then levels out at around 49 degrees Celsius. Then I quit the stress utility and the idle temperature drops down to around 30 degrees Celsius. So here are the final results. Under load, the fan drops the temperature by 34 degrees Celsius, so I'm very happy with my overall case design. Now it's time to install TrueNAS. I downloaded version 2510 Community Edition ISO from the TrueNAS website and imaged it to a USB stick with Bellina etcher. After plugging the USB stick into the ZimaBlade, I pressed the delete key on startup to access the BIOS to change the boot priority to the SanDisk USB stick. It booted straight into the TrueNAS Scale installation. From the console setup, I selected Install, Upgrade and pressed Enter. It recognised the ZimaBlade's eMMC storage as well as the 8TB IronWolf drive. I pressed the spacebar to select the eMMC, then pressed Enter to continue. After being warned that the process would erase the drive, I pressed Enter to confirm, then I selected Configure using Web UI. TrueNAS has a really slick web interface, so configuring that way is preferable for me. Next, I confirmed EFI boot, which will be fine for the ZimaBlade. The installer formatted the disk and then... error. Failed to find partition number 2 on MMC BLK0. Thankfully, this is an issue that others had discovered before me, and relates to the slower eMMC storage of the ZimaBlade. Basically, the installer formats the drive and then checks that the partition has been created, but it's not waiting long enough for the drive to respond, and then gives an error, saying the new partition isn't there. The fix was pretty straightforward. The installer returned to the console setup menu, and this time I selected Shell. From here, I typed... This searches for tries equals 30 in the installer script and replaces it with tries equals 130, so it waits a little bit longer before giving up on the new partitions. From there, I typed exit to return to the setup screen and went through the install process again. This time around, the installer continued without a hitch. It took about 2.5 minutes to complete, then prompted me to remove the install media and reboot. TrueNAS does take a little while to start up, but once complete, it will show you the local IP address of the web interface and then provide a menu of options you can select. As I'll be doing everything else via the web UI, I can ignore this menu. Now, the NAS box can be headless, so I removed the display and the keyboard. Now from a browser, I visited the local IP address where I was prompted to provide a password for accessing the NAS. So I'm going to use Make Passwords Great Again. And here is the dashboard. The first thing I have to do is create a storage pool. Step 1 is to create a name for the pool, and I have chosen Tank. Next, for the data layout, I have selected Stripe, and it's automatically recognised the 8TB IronWolf drive for me to select. You may notice the little alert sign. That's because I've only selected one drive, which means there's no internal redundancy. If this drive fails, that's my data gone. TrueNAS is telling me this is not a good idea. So why am I ignoring it? Because I have another redundancy plan in mind that I'm saving for another video. There are a bunch more steps here, but they are optional and not required for my configuration. So now I'm going to skip them by selecting Save and Go to Review. Now I can get TrueNAS to create the pool. Next step is to create a dataset on the pool. I selected my pool from the left, then selected Add Dataset. I'm calling it TrueNAS and using the SMB dataset. At this point, TrueNAS asks if I want to start the SMB service on the NAS, which I do. And finally, I need to create a user or users that are allowed to access the SMB share. So I'm creating a user for myself, setting a password and the permissions, and then clicking Save. Now it's time to test. I've opened the Connect to Server window on my Mac and entered the address of the TrueNAS SMB share. After clicking Connect and entering my login details, the new network drive is accessible. Before I benchmark the new NAS, I need to set a baseline. So I'm copying a single 30GB video file across my gigabit network to the old Synology NAS. It took 10.5 minutes, giving me around 45 megabytes per second throughput. This is pretty poor performance, but not too surprising given the age and spec of the DS216. Copying the same file to the ZimaBlade NAS took 4 minutes and 19 seconds, giving me over 110 megabytes per second throughput, almost 2.5 times faster than the Synology. Now, I'm not kidding myself. I appreciate this is still pretty modest performance in comparison to a proper striped RAID running on a 5 or 10 gigabit network setup, but this is a significant improvement over what I had and is more than enough for my requirements. One thing I did like about the old Synology NAS was its power efficiency, using only 8 watts in idle and 10 watts under load. But I was pleased to see that the new ZimaBlade TrueNAS uses only 9 watts in idle and around 13 watts under load. So the increase is negligible, but the speed improvement in data transfer and the responsiveness of the interface is huge. I'm extremely happy with the end result. While the cost of the project was never really a motivator for me, I managed to build the whole thing for less than the price of an entry-level off-the-shelf NAS, and I've ended up with a lot more. The ZimaBlade's Intel x86 architecture means I'm not limited to a single operating system or ecosystem. I can run whatever software best suits my needs. Today, that's TrueNAS, but I can change that at any time without changing the hardware. The ZimaBlade is also significantly more powerful than the hardware found in those entry-level NAS units. I'm really pleased with the case design. It's very compact and does an excellent job of keeping both the ZimaBlade and the hard drive nice and cool. In the future, I may look at adding a second drive and maybe even a 5 gigabit network controller for the PCIe slot. But for now, it's exactly what I need. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.